G'day everyone, welcome to part 10 of the Xray xb4 buggy build series. Part 10 we will be building the shocks, and as usual, if you're familiar with watching this series, I've gone ahead and done some things ahead so as to save on filming time. So in this case we obviously have 4 shocks, so I've gone and built 3. And so we're just going to do one left. I have also, for other purposes, I've also mounted the shocks to the chassis. And so we will be also doing that as well in this video. So let's carry on, let's get into the video itself, into the build. So what we'll need is a couple of little T-wrenches, some pliers, some side cutters, obviously your shock oil. Now not everyone has one of these, but I have what's called a shock pump, and yes, I said shock pump, don't get it confused with something else. Also I have some team associated green shock slime, and that's pretty much everything that we need. Okay, so first of all, what we need to do is we need to get our preload collar here, and we will start by putting in a little O-ring, so that fits in there nicely. Just put your finger in there and just make sure it's sitting in there nicely. That's that part there. Next, with the shock body, another O-ring, put that up. Oh, almost lost it. Slide it over. Just be gentle with it because it is very thin. Okay, next we need another O-ring. This one will go inside the shock, and actually instead of using that, I'll use this because we'll be needing it now. Whole idea of the shock slime, because it says to use shock oil, but I find that the slime, the team associated green slime, works better. It also helps form a seal for when you're building the shock. Okay, now we need a little spacer, another O-ring to go in, and now a little bit more green slime. Just like that. Now the next part, we need another little cap. Now take note of the cap here. You can only go in one way, and there's like a little ridge. You want that ridge to face, in this case, which would be upward, but technically it's downward because the shock is upside down. So you want the ridge to be facing upward. Now we put the cap over the top, and then we screw it down firmly. Okay, so that's that part. Okay, now next thing we'll be doing is putting the shock shaft together. Now first of all, I'm actually building this to stock standard setup specifications, and so that requires a 3-hole piston. Now when you get your piston, it will be on parts tree. Give me a second. It'll be on a parts tree like this. So when you break it off, you'll have some burrs on the side. Very carefully with the very fine sandpaper, just sand off the edges there, just to make sure that those burrs are gone, so that way you don't wreck the shock. Okay, now we need some E-clips, and we need our pliers. Very carefully, almost lost it. And I have lost it. No, lucky. I'll have to do it this way. Okay, so that's the E-clip on. Next, put the shock piston on. Now the next E-clip. Okay, so that's that part. Now what we need is another little washer. This helps with the shock travel limit. I mean, you can do without it, you don't really need it, but we're putting it in. So that goes on there. Now we need some shocks, some more slime. Now if you don't have team associated green slime, some shock oil will just be fine, but I like to use the slime preferably. Okay, now when you put the shaft through the shock, because you've got the little O-rings there, don't shove it through, twist the shock body. So first find the hole, and then you just twist it on like so, and then you can pull it through. Okay, now we'll just clean off that excess slime. Okay, now next part, we need to put this small part on the end of the shock shaft. Now with your side cutters, very carefully have it so it's on right at the edge of the thread and not actually on the shaft, because that way you'll wreck the shock shaft. And don't push down too hard, otherwise you could risk cutting the shock shaft, and being an Xray part, it is very expensive. So a little force. There we go. And keep doing it right up till it touches the side cutters, like that. Okay. Now next part, we need some shock oil. This is from another kit because I don't want to waste all the shock oil that I'm going to be using. Put a little bit of shock oil on the preload collar here just to help lube the O-ring so you don't wreck it. Okay, so now we turn it, and we'll turn it up all the way, and that way, because you'll see what I'll be doing next. Takes a little while to do this, and here we go, we're getting to the top. Okay, so now next part is to fill the shock. So we will need this part here. Now this is the shock pump, and what it does is, I'll get rid of that, because when you fill your shock, you need to get all the air bubbles out. And this nifty little tool will help get rid of the air quicker. So first of all, what we'll do is we'll fill it. Okay. Now what you do with the shock is you'll push it up and then put it back down, and so you've got all these air bubbles now. Now usually what you'll do is you'll need to leave the shock sit for about, well, I usually let it sit for about half an hour, but in this case we're going to cheat, and we will put the pump on and we'll pump away. Okay, now you can't see it at the moment. Oh, probably can't see it because of the angle, but trust me, there are air bubbles coming out. And so we'll just leave that for a few seconds. Okay, so in the meantime, while the air bubbles are coming out, on the shock cap here, you'll see there's a screw. That's a bleeder screw. I've already put that in just to save a little bit of time. For adjusting your rebound, if you want like 50% rebound, and that you'll push the shock up. I'll demonstrate it shortly, but I want full rebound, so I won't be taking the screw out to adjust the rebound. But so that's that done. It's all the air out. So in this case, we'll be putting the cap on now. Make sure you don't cross thread it, then you'll have a wrecked shock cap. Put it down firmly. Now, just for illustrative purposes, if I wanted, say, 50% rebound, I would take this screw out at the top of the shock cap. I would push the shock up halfway and then put the screw back in, and that will give you 50% rebound. So I want 100% rebound, so I'm not going to move the shock. Now what we do, put the spring on, and there you have it, folks. So now what we do is we put, actually I'll just move that out of the way now so I can see. Now we just put the eyelets in, just a little bit of necessary force. It's never easy, this bit. Wants to fight you the whole way. There we go, that's that one in. Okay. Same again. Okay, so that's the shock done. That's one shock done. Now folks, what we do, so I'll just put that there. Next part, we need to put the shock tower shaft on. In this case, we're putting it in the middle hole for standard setup. Okay, so now we need our two, give me a second, need our two little T-wrenches here. So we'll put that one through there. Okay, so nice, make sure it's quite tight. Now next part is we put the shock on. And we need another nut. Okay, that's that done. Now we get that last screw, putting it on the outermost hole. Give me a sec, folks. So if you can't see it there, alrighty people, now just bit of noise. Now when you've built your shocks, when you get it, okay, in this case with the front, pull your shocks up and let go of them like that. See if they come down at the same speed. I can see I'll have to make a few little adjustments because the right is coming down a bit quicker. So when you've built your shocks, mount them. It'll be a little bit involved, but mount your shocks, squeeze them and compress them back and forth, and see if they both come down at the same speed. And that way, if they do, then you've got your shocks set up right. In this case, I just need to make a few little adjustments. But that's part 10, people. That's shock build. Stay tuned for part 11, where we'll be doing, let's see what we'll be doing. Well, pretty much the final, it's getting towards final assembly where we will start putting the electronics in. So folks, stay tuned.